I come from a company called LANDMECO in Denmark. LANDMECO is founded kind of on the organic free-range side. We've never done cage. So our DNA is supporting the bird in its natural behavior. It's also about make it easy for the people working in the farm. Easy to see the birds, easy to manage the birds and the system. The yellow spots here is where we have been doing systems the last couple of years. And if we just look in 25, we've done about 2.2 million bird places in the US. Right, a small question. No, first, quick contents. What does it take to get good result? I'll try to get in, hey, it's only 20 minutes. I'll try to get in on some headlines on what you should do, hopefully, to get good productivity. I'll also talk about how the birds are behaving. I'm sure you've all seen some of the drawings I'll be using about what is the bird in nature doing. Because if we want to support it in an open system, where we don't put it in a cage, we have to try and support the natural way of the bird's behavior. And then I'll have a few pointers in the end, things you can use to maybe get signal from your birds about, are you doing the right thing? Right, but why are we here? I'm here because somebody's paying my salary. If I should guess on you guys, you're here because you hopefully think you can get a little bit of inspiration to go home and make more money for yourself or the company you're working for. So these 9 nice green dollar bills, that's probably the reason we're here. Rightio. Here we're always talking about a dozen of egg. And so I've said here, what is the financial part of producing a dozen of eggs? And by far, the feed is the highest cost of producing eggs. So anything we can do to optimize feed utilization, of course, is good. The second biggest cost in our production of an egg is actually the pullet. So the 16, 18-week-old lady that we move in, that is just about ready to lay egg, she is also a big part of the cost. Depreciation, interest, somebody have to pay for this building we're growing in. The reason I'm writing here 30% or so is the equipment. That's basically just to remind you, don't save those 5% on the right equipment if you are jeopardizing your productivity. It'll cost you forever. And then all the other small costs that you sometime in the daily work consider the big costs, because you don't see the feed bill every day. You don't see the pullet bill every day. So you kind of forget them. Please take your right decisions by having this pie chart in mind. If we want high productivity, we need to get a supreme pullet into our house. If we get a pullet that is very non-uniform, half of the ladies are ready to produce egg, the other half is too skinny and don't have a fat layer, they are not ready to produce egg. When we're pushing them into production, we get all kinds of problems and mortalities potentially. So what you're doing in the rearing house is very, very important to you as well. The equipment you have in there supporting what the bird would like to do is also very important. Obviously, you need good feed quality, you need good water quality. So don't settle for too many minerals like salt or something else in your drinking water. You will have birds that are constantly drinking too much, and when they have salt in the water, it's more difficult for them to produce and make the shell, the calcium on the shell of the egg. So good feed and water quality. Good health and biosecurity. The right vaccination programs, making sure you're not bringing in things from the outside. Be careful with the visitors you're having, taking good care of your biosecurity. Good environment. And I'm using the word environment here, despite most of my working life have been ventilation. I'm not using climate, I'm using environment, because light, air speed, all these things is a big part of how the bird is behaving. That's also why we have light, low, medium and high in the houses, so we can do like what's happening in nature. Even if you have these 5 things correct, there's one big thing missing, and that's your management. Without that, you'll probably end up failing anyway. So make sure also to be on top of what you're supposed to do. Another way of symbolizing all these things is Libre's vat. The lowest piece of wood here, that's where the water will run out. So if you have bought not so great equipment, that might be the limiting factor. So no matter how good a pullet you're producing, it won't really support it. So keep that in mind. Rightio. I said that our system is designed to support the bird's natural behavior and also the people working there. You see me standing on the ground and reaching in and inspecting the nest. I don't need to step up to get in and see it. You will probably get the feeling here it's a relatively open system also, so I can see quite a lot of birds on the distance. And as you see here, it's a system like kind of built up like a pyramid, so it's easy for the birds to move up and down. Furthermore, the plateau up about where my arm is, that's actually a plateau you can walk on. So in each end of the barn, we will have a ladder, so it's easy to get up there. And what is the perth? That's actually also your handrail when you're walking up there. So you can easily get up into the system and inspect the top of the system, making sure the water, the feed up there is working as it should. Making sure that you find that dead bird up there and those couple of system eggs that might be there. What we're seeing here will be a video in a few seconds, and that's hi there. You recognize that bird? Yeah, right. They're taken at your place just the morning after that we placed the birds, right? Okay, that's not the sound here. Never mind. If you have heard the sound, you would notice that the feeding system is actually running. But these birds have been all their rearing period fed on the floor. So they're confused. Where's the feeding? What's going on here? Where do I find my feeding system? That's why I say, get a rearing system that supports the system that you're going to place the bird in when they're going in to lay. Make that transition so much easier. Hey, you're well into lay now, as far as I know. So you made it. But take a little bit of training. This slide I've borrowed from Hendrix Genetics is basically just telling me, or I want to tell you, this is a slide they have made about prolonging the laying period of birds. So if we should look at having birds producing eggs up to 120 weeks, what are the important things? And here they have stated, if you see the 5-week, there's a lot of quality things we have to have achieved already by 5 weeks. Otherwise, we don't make it. I will actually be so rude and say, no. In a lot of cases, it's the first 24 hours we destroy the birds that make it hard for the rest of our life. The birds come relatively uniform from the hatchery. If we don't get them all started at the same time, we are destroying the uniformity the first 24 hours. When we've destroyed the uniformity, we'll have to work on trying to regain that, and that's hard. So wrong climate, wrong feed distribution, and so on, the first 24 hours can easily make it bad. So get that rearing system that support your birds right from hour number 1 when they're in the house. I've worked a lot in broilers. In broilers, we know it's a chase. We only have 32, 34 days before we have to get to slaughter. In layers, too many people are thinking, I have 16 weeks to do this, so don't worry, I'll catch up. No, you don't catch up. Get it right in the beginning. If we look at the bird in nature, and yes, this drawing is also borrowed from Poultry Signals, Layer Signals, a great book, by the way, if you should want to read about how the bird is thinking. They like to sit up in the tree sleeping. They're away from the fox, they feel secure. In the morning when they wake up, I would like a drink right now, to be honest. Not that I've just woken up, but that's one of the first things the birds want to do is have a quick drink, a little bit of eat, and then the next thing, this important thing, most of you probably have kids. So this important thing that when we want to carry on with the next generation, that's what she have in her mind after she get her morning breakfast. Lay this precious egg, your income, that's what she have in her mind. So we have to make sure not to disturb her there the next 3.5, 4 hours. Give her time to lay that egg, and then we start pushing, feeding, and so on later on in the day. Then we have to give her space to do her natural behavior. Go dust bathing, go sunbathing, go play, and so on. Most of the places we've left the roosters out, so the last one there don't really count. But if there's something, was it up at your place? We had 1 or 2 roosters also, a little bit wider. No, it wasn't. One of the other guys. Anyway, he looked to have fun. A lone guy in there with 50,000 ladies. In the nighttime, they want to go back up in the tree, sit and be secure. So that's why I said we start dimming the light in the floor level. Then we dim the light up in the system level, and the last light we dim is up in the roof. So trying to do the same as we have in nature. The last place you have light in nature is up in the top of the tree. So we are trying to stimulate them in the same way. We're probably turning on the lights all over the place in the morning because we get a lot of activity right when they wake up. But in the evening time, it's important that we try to get her up there. The more calm she is, the less energy she's using on stress and stuff like that, and the more energy she can put into her egg production. This is a program where we see the different lights, and if I'm finding a pointer here quick, and we see here that the lower light is going off a little bit before the top lights. We have the feedings here, and we have the animate. So animate is like running the feed chain for a few seconds just to rattle the chain, remind them, go and eat. Because opposite broiler breeders, the parent stock to the broilers, they're on a diet all the time. These girls, we have to tempt to eat enough so that we get them up eating and eating enough that we can maintain the egg production. This one is, thank you Arturo for setting it up for me, so that we can actually, you're sitting there, we can actually switch off the top feeding system in the morning feeding and the evening feeding. This farm had a little bit of a problem with too many of the birds just stayed up in the system and was too lazy to go down. I have food, I have drink, and there's a mesh here where I can lay my egg. Why should I bother go down? If we turn the feeder off in the morning and the evening, we are, oh shit, I can't get my morning feeding. So she starts to go down. So a lot of small things we can use to train them. I'm getting in trouble. don't think floor area is a waste of energy and space. Those ladies would like to maintain the feather coat, going down dust bathing and that way cleaning their feathers. It is an important thing for them. So it's not only that we want to do good bird welfare, but a bird that have a good maintained feather coat actually also have a better possibility of staying in lay longer time. Signals that we can read, put a few mineral stones in there. If you're getting a feed delivery with not the right contents, they'll probably go aggressive to the mineral stones, and you have indication. So just a couple of mineral stones in there that you pass by every day. If you suddenly see them start eating it a lot, you have a indication. Let's notice a little bit more what's going on here. Maybe go out in your management system and see, last time I had a feed delivery, have my water intake decreased or increased in the feed transition from one silo to the next? There's a lot of indication there you can use. Alfalfa, or lucerne, as we call it in Danish. A few bales in there. If they suddenly start to eat it a lot, it's again, they would like the starch and so on from there, maybe. So again, an indication of, are the birds in good conditions? A bag of seashells. If you're not having the right calcium level in the feeds, you don't even need to make a hole in that bag. They'll smell it and they'll aggressively open that bag themselves if they need it. And then obviously looking at the litter conditions, and here you see toys hanged up. Some of the US free-range companies have a demand for that. I'm in trouble. On one side here we have wet droppings. We can see it's runny all over the place. Just observing, see what's going on there. You can maybe see it out in the manure stack also. The picture on the right side here, where you can basically see it's floating out the door. They're probably drinking too much. Is it because some salt contents in the water? Is it in the water, or is it bad feed, or what is it? That's for you to find out. Opening up the nests. We don't want that lady to think about the nest as a safe place to sleep. So we basically only want to give her access to the nest when she starts to think about laying an egg. So we are saying, wait for the first floor egg. And I'm running out of time. So I'm just scrolling through this. I hope, despite only 20 minutes, you've got a little bit of inspiration on how to look at your birds, how to manage your birds.